The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners. Hello everybody and welcome to Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos on this Fantasy Friday, September 24th. We have a wonderful football-related show for you guys today, and my co-host Tony will be joining me in the next segment. But let's go ahead and kick things off the way we do each and every day with the Nerd News. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame has announced its nominees for the 2022 class, including Steve Smith and Andre Johnson headlining as first-time nominees. Now, since it's its inaugural 1963 class, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has inducted 346 members into Canton, Ohio, including the 8 most recent members of the class of 2021. The next group of hopefuls vying for a bust include 122 nominees from the Pro Football Hall of Fame's initial list, none of whom has played a game within the last 5 years. That group will eventually get whittled down to 25 semifinalists in November and 15 finalists in January before the selection committee ultimately makes its choice on enshrinement. Some of the first-time nominees for this year are Anquan Boldin, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith, Jake Long, Nick Mangold, Antonio Cromartie, Robert Mathis, Vince Wilfork, and DeMarcus Ware. At least one first-time nominee has been selected for induction into the Hall of Fame every year since 2013, including 3, Calvin Johnson, Peyton Manning, and Charles Woodson last year. Another factor that could bode well for some of the first-time nominees is that both the class of 2019 and 2018 have each seen 3 people inducted, setting a precedent should one of this year's first-timers become a finalist. Moving on, Chicago has gotten small doses of Justin Fields through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, but is about to see the rookie phenom significantly more. Bears coach Matt Nagy announced Wednesday that Fields, the 11th overall pick in this year's draft, will start the team's Week 3 game against Cleveland. Fields has played sparingly through the first 2 weeks, seeing the field for just 47 total snaps and attempting just 15 passes thus far. He entered Chicago's Week 2 game for an injured Andy Dalton and went 6 for 13 with 60 yards and an interception, his first real game used as a passer. The former Ohio State star also saw action in Week 1 and scored a rushing touchdown while completing 2 of 2 passes for 10 yards. At the time of Sunday's 20-17 win over Cincinnati, the extent of Dalton's injury wasn't known, but now NFL Network's Ian Rappaport has revealed what's ailing Dalton. Apparently, he's battling a bone bruise in his knee. Dalton went 9 for 11 on 56 yards and threw a touchdown before leaving the game, despite relatively quiet games from the team's top 3 skill position players, running back David Montgomery and wide receivers Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. Moving over to the Packers, Aaron Jones paid the ultimate tribute to his late father during Green Bay's Monday Night Football victory over Detroit, putting up 115 total yards and 4 touchdowns. That's 1 rushing and 3 receiving in the Packers' 35-17 victory. Jones's father, Alvin Jones Sr., died April 6 due to complications of COVID-19. He was a fixture in Green Bay's stands, and according to PackersNews.com, would be the last person Jones looked to before home games started. Following the game, Green Bay's first full attendance contest since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Jones told ESPN's Lisa Salters that he wore a chain containing his father's ashes during the contest. He said he lost it somewhere in the end zone during one of his touchdowns and that the Lambeau Field grounds crew was actively looking for it. I actually have a chain with a football and his ashes are in it, Jones told Salters. I scored and it fell off in the end zone. So I'll go look for it, but I know he's happy. He'd be happy. If you lose it anywhere, lose it in the end zone. After the interview concluded on ESPN, Scott Van Pelt noted on SportsCenter that Salters had joined Jones and the grounds crew in looking for the chain. The story has a happy ending, as Jones tweeted on Tuesday that the grounds crew had found the missing chain. And then finally, here in the nerd news, the NFL gave referees a controversial point of emphasis ahead of the 2021 NFL season. The league's competition committee wanted its officials to focus on penalizing taunting. The decision was made in the name of sportsmanship, as Giants owner John Mara explained at the time. We get kind of sick and tired of taunting that does go on from time to time on the field, Mara said during a news conference. We tried to balance the sportsmanship with allowing the players to have fun, and there's always been a fine line there, but none of us like to see that. It's just a question of whether you can have rules that can be enforced and without taking the fun out of the game too, but nobody wants to see a player taunting another player. I know I certainly don't. I think the rest of the members of the competition committee feel the same way too. However, through 2 weeks of the season, the league's directive has been poorly received by fans and players. In week 2 of the 2021 NFL season, there were countless taunting calls whistled. Many of these celebrations were perfectly fine under the NFL's previous rules, but now players have to learn what behavior is and isn't acceptable on the fly, and they aren't happy about it. Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady is one of them. He commented, "Agree," on an Instagram post criticizing the new taunting rule. Brady saw teammate Mike Edwards get whistled for taunting after his second interception returned for a touchdown of the day. So it's easy to understand why the veteran quarterback would feel that way. He's not alone, however. And folks, that does do it for the nerd news, and we've got a wonderful show lined up for you today. We are doing a daily deep dive with my co-host Tony, talking stardom and situm for fantasy picks. G-Man is joining me here in segment 3 to talk about the week's bets and our top 3 picks. And then we close out the day, as we do each and every day, with Kollector Korner, looking at collectibles and things that you can do in the realm of football to either make yourself some money, or if you are a fan or collector, knowing what there is to do to pick up and what is of most value. So in any case, folks, go ahead and stick with us through the commercials. We'll be back with my co-host Tony, and we'll see you guys in just a couple minutes.
My precious. Ooh, yeah, let me tell you something right here. It's the Loot Crate subscription box, yeah, full of exclusive loot, fun surprises delivered to your door every month.
Just pick up your favorite geeky genre, Daddy.
From the original Loot Crate, the Loot Crate DX collectible boxes, dude! Cowabunga!
To the Loot Gaming video game box.
Woohoo! Yee-hoo!
What's with kids today, huh?
Wowzers! With crates starting as low as $11.99 per month, there's a box just about for all collectors.
To get your geek on, head over to phoenixmedia.us/loot crate and claim your exclusive offer. That's FENIXmedia.us/loot crate. Great Scott!
Snap into a Loot Crate, dig it?
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, everybody, to segment 2 of Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos on this Fantasy Friday. As you guys can see, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Filippo. Tony, how you doing this morning?
Tired, man. Just woke up. Literally, only been up for about 10 minutes. So, so out of bed, into a hat and stuff. You know, don't even know what day it is. It's been such a long work week, but happy to be here, man. Happy to be here.
Well, the good news is we're talking about something we both love. We talk about stuff we both love every day, but today is football. And of course, we're talking fantasy football. And so, let's go ahead and get into our daily deep dive, talking NFL fantasy football week 3.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
And so, we are in the same fantasy league. We did face each other the first week where you beat me by 5 points. Luckily, last week, it was good for both of us. I think we took a couple of the top 3 spots there in overall points. But, each week is new and each week is a new team. So we're going to go through some of the startums and situms for each of the key positions. Tony, get your input on that. And all of this is based on the NFL Adam Ranks stardom and situm picks. Starting off with Jalen Hurts as a stardom for the Philadelphia Eagles, which makes a lot of sense. He's been producing and he's cheap on the fantasy side. Is he somebody you would consider in a fantasy lineup, Tone?
Not in our salary cap league. I wouldn't go too much with him. I mean, he'll get you some points on the ground as a mobile quarterback. Does have a few targets, but also, the Cowboys are much different this year. I think it's at least a good stardom, definitely as Adam Rank has him. I don't know if I got him as a QB1, but definitely somebody, if he's on your bench or whatever, definitely something that might be a good matchup.
Yeah, if you're able to put him in that second position, again, he's a cheap pickup and, could potentially do well. But like you said, the Cowboys, they're looking pretty good this season. So who's to say? First up on the situm list on the quarterback is, no surprise, Jameis Winston of the New Orleans Saints. They're playing the Patriots this weekend, which it's definitely not a marquee matchup of any sort, but Jameis Winston has looked like garbage. Do you agree?
He looked great week 1. He looked really good week 1, and then he looked really bad week 2. And that's unfortunately been Jameis's downfall in his career. It's just the consistency's not there. Some weeks he's just so good, and then some weeks he's just so bad. So
yeah.
And against a new vamped up Patriots D and everything, I picked the Patriots to win this one, and I would agree. Definitely do not play Jameis Winston against the Patriots this week.
Oh, totally agree. Moving back over to the stardom side with quarterback, somebody who has been looking good. Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders. They're playing the Miami Dolphins this week. And you know what? He could be a solid pickup. Again, if you're looking for somebody cheap, maybe as a backup. He may even be a good number 1 pick if you've got, you're a little tight on the budget.
Yeah, if you've got him in your lineup, definitely start him. Again, wouldn't pick him up in our salary cap league, but he's got a good matchup against the Dolphins. Dolphins do have a bit of a good deep. However, for as far as pick'ems for teams to win this week, I've got the Raiders over the Dolphins because you don't have Tua. So if you don't have Tua, you don't have your captain, and sometimes backup quarterbacks, it's hard to get going. And the Raiders have. They've put on some good matchups the last few weeks, so they look pretty good.
Yep. So sticking in the AFC West and talking about good Ds, on the sit-em side, definitely Zach Wilson, the New York Jets QB, against our Denver Broncos. Jets look like garbage anyway. Zach Wilson has not been performing, and the Denver Broncos D has looked solid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You start the Denver Broncos defense this week. You hella don't start Zach Wilson against the Broncos. No. Zach's in for a tough day. On paper, he's in for a really, really bad Sunday. Yay for our Broncos, though. Although I'm wearing Broncos gear today. Go figure.
Normally I wear my Broncos hat, but it's early.
This is what happens when you get the text and you're like, hey, dude, you up? Ready to do this? Whoop. Yep, I'm ready. Well,
let's move on over to the running backs. On the stardom side, they are recommending Saquon Barkley, running back of the New York Giants, against the Atlanta Falcons. He's been doing all right. Again, he's somebody I might pick up as a backup running back, maybe not as a key guy, but what do you think, Tone?
Saquon's, as the season gets going and he gets more acclimated, of course, he's going to be a dominant running back. And against the woeful Falcons, it's a great start. It's somebody you definitely, if you can get available and he doesn't cost you much in a salary league or you already have him, definitely start him with confidence this week.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, somebody that you will want to sit on the running back side is Clyde Edwards-Helaire of the Kansas City Chiefs against the Chargers. Chargers have been looking good. Edwards-Helaire hasn't really been performing, at least not up to the level he was last season. He may have a breakout game, but at this point, I don't think he's impressed enough to be a good pickup on the fantasy side.
Right, and the Chargers have, the Chargers are a tough matchup for the Chiefs. I do have the Chiefs winning this, in prediction. Helaire will get you some points, but definitely you have better options out there. I mean, there's definitely a few more in that list you could easily go for over him.
Exactly. Over on the stardom side, somebody I wouldn't consider, but again, maybe in a second position, especially if you're looking to pick up somebody for cheap, Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team. They're playing the Buffalo Bills, which is a hard matchup, but he's been performing.
Yeah, he has been performing, but, versus any of these guys they've listed, I know these are Adam Rank's list. I mean, I like his sleeper part down at the bottom, Javonte Williams or even Melvin Gordon of the Denver Broncos against the Jets. I would take either two of those. I know you got Gordon, I've got Williams in our league. Much better starts than I think this. Gibson's a little tough because, on paper, they're saying that he's good, but he's one of their only weapons. All the Bills have to do is shut that down to slow down the production. So, because the Bills got a great defense. I mean, they really do. So, I would go the route of finding a different one over Antonio Gibson, me personally. He's a hell of a running back, though.
Yeah, and they won't be airing it out much, but at the same time, if they do get that ground game going, he could put up some potentially big numbers. Over on the sit-em side, we were just talking Broncos. Well, Michael Carter of the New York Jets, again, that Broncos D is looking good, and they've been shutting down the run game throughout the first two games, and Michael Carter overall hasn't been doing all that well. So, what say you, Tone?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't play him against the Broncos. It's hard to. I would say let's just spoiler alert: do not play a single New York Jet against the Denver Broncos this week. It's not going to do you well in fantasy.
Probably.
But then again, it could be a trap game, and they could have a hell of a game, and but highly unlikely.
Yeah. Let's hope not for our fandom's sake. All right.
Exactly.
Moving over to the wide receiver position on the stardom side is one of my go-to receivers. I've played him the first 2 games. I know you've added him to your lineup. We're talking Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams, playing the difficult Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he has been performing. He's been doing well, and he is definitely the go-to receiver for Matthew Stafford.
Oh yeah, he's had 11 targets with at least 3 yards of separation, and he's turned those into 8 receptions for 153 yards and a touchdown. Kupp's been a beast in the fantasy for the first 2 weeks, and I don't see that stopping. Him and Stafford seem to have a connection, and that's not just a good thing, that's a great thing.
Over on the Sidham side on the wide receivers, Marquez Callaway from the New Orleans Saints, again against the New England Patriots. And I'd say that's more a fault to Jameis Winston than it is Marquez Callaway. But if you don't have a good quarterback, you probably won't have a good receiver in fantasy.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, you go to NFL.com and do the NFL fantasy ranks with Adam Rank. His stuff is funny. Like he has here, Callaway was the most hyped thing since the original Suicide Squad movie and has been just about as disappointing. He always has good pop culture quips or wrestling quips in there. Very funny guy. I agree, man. I picked up Callaway the first week, and the dude laid a turd, man. He was supposed to. This is his time to shine. Why Michael Thomas is injured, But then again, it's not all on Callaway. You got to look at who's throwing him the ball. And like I said, in the quarterback segment, you got Jameis Winston, who some weeks fire, other weeks not. A dumpster fire. So with caution, wouldn't use him at all on this.
And then finally on the stardom, somebody I wouldn't have considered, but it makes a lot of sense. A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans against the Indianapolis Colts, with as well as Derrick Henry's been doing in the ground game. He's been targeted 17 times by Ryan Tannehill and performing well because the defenses are keeping their eye on Henry. Is he somebody you would pick up, Tone?
Yeah, definitely. If it was like in our league, if you're trying to fit him in there, A.J. Brown would be a good one. And also on this list, I would agree with his DK Metcalf. It's probably DK Metcalf's week because Tyler Lockett had the big week last week. So either option, I would, just depending on if you come across A.J. Brown, he's available in your league. He's definitely worth a start for sure.
Well, folks, that does it. God, time flies by so fast for the fantasy football section of this show. But stay tuned. We've got G-Man up next with this week's sports betting bets, the top 3 picks.
G-Man!
And we will see you all then.
Go Broncos.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, everybody, to Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos. As a reminder, we are all over social media with many of you watching us as we speak on Facebook Facebook Live or YouTube Live. If you want to get a hold of me on social, I'm available at facebook.com/Christian Phoenix Radio. That's Christian with a K, Phoenix with an F, radio, of course, with an R, or on Twitter and Instagram at Phoenix Media Radio. And Tony's available at facebook.com/Filippo5381 or on Instagram at Tony.Sanfilippo81. Now, if you guys are watching, you will recognize the face just to my left, to my right, depending on where you're looking at. It is the G-Man, as we like to do on Fridays. We have him here to talk about this week's top 3 sports betting picks. But as always, I've got a question for you, G-Man. Are you ready for football? How's it going?
It's going good, brother. How are you doing? I'm always ready for some football.
Oh, I love this time of year so much. Well,
yeah, we got Panthers versus Texans tonight. You know, we actually get to get some juice.
That'll be fun. You know, Thursdays are always a great way to sort of kick off the rest of the weekend. Now, speaking of weekends, obviously, if you guys follow our Facebook page, you've noticed that we've put up the G-Man's matchups posts. We haven't done a live segment until now. Actually, the first week we had a corrupted file, but we won't get into that. But in any case, week 1, G-Man, you went 3-0. Last week, not as successful. You went 1-2. But you're still 4-2 overall. And as far as all of your bets across all the games, how are you faring so far?
Total, including the top 3, it looks like we've come out of the first 2 weeks exactly 50-50 at 16-16. Done a little bit better with the top 3. Missed the Rams bet last week by 0.5 point, but that happens. You always, when you win them by 0.5 point, you're like, oh, yeah, you just move on. But the ones that, of course, you miss by 0.5 point, those sting a little bit more.
Right. You were this close.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Well, let's go ahead and get into our matchups for this week, starting off with our wild card matchup. You've got the Patriots -3 versus the Saints. A couple of years ago, this would have been a marquee matchup, Brady versus Breeze. It would have been awesome. Now it's just a matter of what team doesn't screw up the most. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I think that what this gets down, to me, of course, you have 2 excellent coaches, on both squads. I think, however, there's a couple factors. First, the Saints are a dome team. They play half their games there every year. And it's not quite, old man winter yet, but you're still going to have a little bit more brisky weather, possibly some wind and things like that. The turf's going to slow them down a little bit. And I think that, when it gets down to it, although, the Patriots have, the rookie quarterback from Alabama, of course, his pedigree is very strong. He's, used to, running, pro offenses, even though of course, Alabama, has a decided advantage most of the time with talent, and it's not, quite an accurate gauge. But that being said, I mean, Jameis Winston, being as spotty as he has been historically, including last week, I think that the quarterbacks are at worst equal, to each other, in spite of Winston's, few years in the NFL already. And then, then that being said, it gets down to defense. You got a legitimate home field advantage now with the crowds being able to go to the game. And so that's, you're talking about a field goal. So I'll buy the hook, half a point down. So if it's decided by a field goal, I'm going to win instead of push. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Again, not the marquee that we thought it was going to be, but, you got some inexperienced guys out there, and, Belichick is always fun to watch on the sidelines. Let's move on to our marquee matchup, which, again, if you went back to last year, you would have thought, who cares? But you've got the Eagles at +4 at the Cowboys. Both teams have been looking really well. There was that nail biter with the Cowboys and Zerline's kick last week. And, basically it's one of those things where it could go either way. I'd almost lean towards more the Cowboys, but how do you see it going?
Yeah, and it's not that, of course, you're wrong. And I'm not saying that the Cowboys probably they should win this game. It really gets down to a couple things. I think that so far the Eagles' defense this year has shown up. First on the road, the first week with the Falcons, pretty much shut those guys out completely. And then the 49ers too. They held the Niners to, I think, 17 points last week. Niners beat them by a couple of field goals, but the defense is definitely strong so far. And on the Cowboys side, not so much. An NFC East game, where, of course, it's going to be probably a defensive battle, and it's probably going to be close. And so that's where the 4 points, even if, Dallas decides it, by field goal or something like that, I like the 4 points. If it was 3, you know what I mean? I'd probably, I'd still be buying the hook, as I suggest on this one too. Still buy the hook at 4.5. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, again, Jalen, I don't think he's comparable to Dak at all. But he's still coming off an injury, and I know that. He had a really good, first week, and all systems seemed to be, go with Dak. But I think that as normal in the back of his mind, there's going to be still a little bit of reluctance, to run the ball as much as, that he, has done in his early days. Just probably a little bit more conservative approach. And I wouldn't be surprised if, again, NFC East, first of all, you want to make sure that you stop the run. And if Dak is throwing the ball, 40, 50 times in that game, that's going to be probably good for the Eagles.
And to be fair, Ezekiel Elliott hasn't really been performing all that well. He's been doing okay, but not to the standard that he's being paid for. And Jalen Hurts on the Eagles side has been looking pretty good. In fact, in our last segment, talking about fantasy pickups, Jalen Hurts is a cheap quarterback pickup for somebody who can put up some good points for you. Yeah. He's not, they're not one to kick him off the team yet. That's for sure. And it looks like the players are playing for him. Let's say, he's not the only quarterback either. Cam Newton, first of all, comes to mind. He came in and he wasn't known by any stretch of the imagination, as a pure passer. That's always been the knock on Cam. And so Jalen, is developing, for sure. You can see that. And I think the key with him so far, as you can see when you watch the games, is that he's not turning the ball over.
he's doing a pretty good job as far as managing it. And so if those things come along, because he's definitely still a threat as a big boy.
Yeah.
And, pretty quick, he can run when he needs to. And so you always have that threat on defense, keeping them on their heels. And so, yeah, if he could keep developing his passing acumen, then he could stick in the league.
Makes a lot of sense. And then finally, let's move on to our best bet matchup. You've got the Cardinals -7 at the Jaguars. Cardinals have been looking really good this season. Kyler Murray, he's been one of my top fantasy guys, even though he had 2 interceptions last week. But, at -7, you're playing with a touchdown there, and the Jaguars are still kind of finding their groove.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. I think that the first couple of weeks, of course, you have the rookie quarterback that's kind of so far this year, his stats are anything but impressive. And again, it's not easy, to come into the league and as a rookie. It's a lot easier than it used to be. Remember back in the day, man, they used to sit them, for 2 or 3 years, really bring them along, at least for a couple of years, before even giving them any kind of significant game time. But now these high draft picks, they're kind of looking for a reason, to kind of get them in. And, I think that, Kyler Murray, man, I tell you what, I was a detractor when he first came in. I thought he was going to be too small. I didn't think the throwing lanes were going to be there. But I have to say, the little guy's pretty magical. I mean, he's he's literally my size, and you know me, I'm not a big person by any stretch of the imagination. I'd be really happy if somebody said I was average height. But that dude is pretty impressive. I mean, just being able to buy time and, really thinking about it, like his accuracy. I mean, everything from last year, that Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins, to steal the game from the Buffalo Bills, and this year so far so good. I mean, he's putting points on the board, and that's where, oh man, 7 points. How often do I do that if you're traveling all the way across from the West Coast to the East Coast? I mean, I'm going against, kind of my betting axiom here. But because Jags have started out with the kind of the deer in the headlights thing, with the quarterback and even I think their head coach, their defense has played pretty good. Against the teams, that they've kept it, to a respectable number, but the offense is definitely stagnant. And I think with the Cardinals defense, they're just balanced, so far they're really balanced on both sides of the ball. And I think that if we, again, bought the hook down to 6.5, that the Cardinals should win by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, I think that's a good conservative bet. And just a couple stats for you real quick. Kyler Murray is averaging 370 passing yards in the first 2 games, and the Jaguars have a -5 turnover ratio through the first 2 games. So, I think you may have hit the nail on the head. Well, G-Man, always appreciate you coming on, talking football. We love it. Wish there was more time. Want to remind everybody that G-Man is part of Seedless Tendency, who is playing this weekend in Reno for Street Vibration. So definitely go check him out. What's the venue again?
Free show at the new Mask restaurant. They converted into a club on the weekends, and they've been wanting to bring a band in. So we'll be the first one. And it's a free show, rare free show. Reno Palooza was postponed, and so we pivoted and booked this, and it's going to be a lot of fun during Street Vibrations for sure. 9 o'clock to 10:30, and then a DJ will start at 11.
Very cool. Thanks again, G-Man.
And that's at Mask.
Okay, at Mask, and I'll put it on
Mask.
the
MASQUE, right across from where Harris used to be.
Perfect. I'll put it on the post, and then we will see you next week.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right.
Let's get those picks in. See you.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave. But remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Behold, my precious. Ooh, yeah, let me tell you something right here. It's the Loot Crate subscription box, yeah, full of exclusive loot, fun surprises delivered to your door every month.
Just pick up your favorite geeky genre, Daddy.
From the original Loot Crate, the Loot Crate DX collectible boxes, dude! Cowabunga!
To the Loot Gaming video game box.
Woohoo! Yee-hoo!
Loot Crate Horror Box. What's with kids today, huh?
Wowzers! With crits starting as low as $11.99 per month, there's a box just about for all collectors.
To get your geek on, head over to phoenixmedia.us/Loot Crate and claim your exclusive offer. That's FENIX media.us/Loot Crate. Great Scott!
Snap into a Loot Crate, dig it?
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, everybody, to the fourth and final segment of Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos on this Fantasy Friday. Now, I wanted to remind everybody that you can basically get us anywhere that you get podcasts: Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, about 20 in all. So if you are looking for the show, go ahead and head on over to any of those podcast formats. You can find us on the Christian Phoenix radio show. It's still listed under that for right now, but that'll change over soon, just to give people a little transition time with the new format. Now, before we get into the Kollector Korner, wanted to remind everybody that we do a daily Instagram story poll. Basically, you choose between one person or the other or one group based on the day's theme, today being Fantasy Friday. And today's Instagram story poll is Brett Favre versus Tom Brady. Who is the greater quarterback? Obviously, Brady's known as the GOAT, but there may be some Favre fans out there as well. And for every time you vote, you are entered into a chance to win our monthly prize, which this month is a Loot Crate mystery subscription box. So full of fun, good items. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the Kollector Korner, run down some collectibles here in the Fantasy Friday realm.
Take my money.
So today we're going to be looking at the most expensive football memorabilia of all time ever sold. And speaking of the Green Bay Packers, let's go ahead and start off with this one. It is the Green Bay Packers 1921 franchise certificate. Its selling price, $19,550. One of the most storied teams in football history, the Green Bay Packers, aren't only special because they won the first Super Bowl. The Packers hold the distinction of being the only publicly traded team in the NFL with more than 360,000 cheeseheads, holding more than 5 million shares that were purchased in 5 stock sales between 1923 and 2011. That fact makes the team's original franchise certificate a true one-of-a-kind memorabilia item. On February 4th, 2017, at the Super Bowl 51 live auction in Houston, that non-yellowed piece of paper sold for just south of $20,000. Next one on the list is the Patriots AFC Championship game Deflategate ball. I'm sure we all remember that one. Its selling price, $43,750. According to Sports Illustrated, the New England Patriots in the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era are one of the greatest, if not the greatest, dynasties in football history. That dynasty, however, will forever be associated with 2 scandals, Spygate in 2007 and Deflategate in 2015. Spygate cost Bill Belichick $500,000 and the team another $250,000. Deflategate was a 544-day saga during which Patriots quarterback Tom Brady was accused and later received a 4-game suspension for manipulating air pressure in game balls to make them easier to throw. In 2015, a stadium fan was handed what would go on to become one of the 11 Deflategate balls used in the AFC Championship game. She sold it at auction for $44,000. Just a little south of that. Next up on the list is Vince Lombardi's 1956 New York Giants championship ring. Its selling price, $50,100. The eternally quotable Vince Lombardi, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up, is arguably the greatest coach in NFL history. The Super Bowl trophy is named in his honor. He is most famously known as the coach of the Green Bay Packers during the iconic team's 1960s golden era, but in 1956, he was offensive coordinator of the New York Giants, who won a championship. There wasn't yet a Super Bowl that year. When a collection of Lombardi memorabilia was auctioned off in 2017, no item fetched more than his Giants championship ring. Next, we have Johnny Unitas' Raymond Berry touchdown ball from the 1958 NFL title game, which sold for $62,140. The 1958 NFL Championship game pitted the Baltimore Colts against the New York Giants at Yankee Stadium in what the Baltimore Sun claims is known as the greatest game ever played. In the second quarter, an 86-yard Colts drive culminated in a touchdown pass from legendary Colts quarterback Johnny Unitas to split end Raymond Berry. The Colts would eventually emerge victorious in sudden death overtime, and nearly 60 years later, the ball Unitas threw sold for more than $62,000 at auction. Moving on with the list, Steve Wright's 1966 Super Bowl I ring, its selling price $73,409. Steve Wright played on several NFL teams, but none as glamorous as the Green Bay Packers that drafted him. Under the stewardship of Vince Lombardi, Wright found his groove when he switched from the defensive line to the offensive line. The big man was part of the squad that won both Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II. In 2011, Wright auctioned off the ring he earned for his role in the inaugural Super Bowl for more than $73,000. Next up is a jersey worn by Jim Brown during the 1962-63 season. Its selling price, $78,000. Only a handful of jerseys have ever fetched a higher price at auction than the one worn by Hall of Fame Cleveland Browns fullback Jim Brown, who went to 9 straight Pro Bowls during his 9-year career. The Browns' great ran for 12,312 yards and scored 126 touchdowns. Known for his toughness and grit, Brown had one of his best seasons during the 1962-63 season when he picked up 1,863 yards. When Brown's jersey from that season went up for auction in 2017, bidding opened at $25,000. 14 bids later, the hammer dropped at $78,000. Today, Jim Brown is one of the richest NFL MVPs of all time. Speaking of jerseys, the next item is a jersey worn by Johnny Unitas, who we mentioned just a couple items ago, from 1967. That selling price, $103,500. 4 years after Jim Brown donned the jersey that would sell for a near record price, more than a half century later, Johnny Unitas pulled on a jersey that would go on to sell for even more. Not only is game-worn Unitas gear hard to come by, according to the Baltimore Sun, but this specific Unitas jersey from 1967 was especially unique and therefore more valuable because it underwent a team repair on the front. In the end, the jersey fetched six figures and beat even the high expectations that were set for it. Next up on the list is another ring, this one actually from a Super Bowl, from William Refrigerator Perry's Super Bowl 20 appearance. Wow, this one sold for $203,150. NFL players are big men with big hands and big fingers. When they win Super Bowls, they get really big rings, but none bigger than the size 25 ring worn by William Refrigerator Perry, who boasts the largest championship ring ever produced. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, the ring is one of history's most coveted pieces of Chicago sports memorabilia. Perry was a 320-pound rookie who became one of the biggest names of football when Bears coach Mike Ditka used him at fullback in short yardage situations. The ring, which sold for more than $200,000 in 2015, was gifted to Perry after the Bears dominated the Patriots in 1985 Super Bowl 20, and Perry scored a memorable touchdown. Next up is not NFL, but actually college, is O.J. Simpson's 1968 Heisman Trophy. Its selling price, $230,000. The Heisman Trophy that sold for $230,000 at an auction in 1999 would have been quite a collector's item even under the most normal of circumstances. First of all, it was one of the only Heismans ever to be sold at auction. Making it even more unique was the fact that the word athletic was misspelled. The engraver left out the T. All of that, however, is dwarfed by the stature of the person who owned it, O.J. Simpson. Simpson was awarded college football's highest honor in 1968 before he embarked on one of the greatest careers in professional football. Later, he swapped fame for infamy as the defendant in the most-watched murder trial in American history. Simpson was famously acquitted of the murder, but he later lost a $33.5 million civil lawsuit, which led to the auctioning of his property, including the Heisman itself. And then finally, you have Rudy Rutgers gear from his only Notre Dame game, sold for $241,500. Although Daniel Rudy Rutger only played for 27 seconds during one play in a single game, he is probably the most famous Notre Dame football player in history. His inspirational, heartwarming, and according to former Fighting Irish teammate Joe Montana, greatly embellished underdog story was immortalized in the 1993 sports movie classic Rudy. On Super Bowl weekend in Houston 2017, gear worn by Rudy, who is now a motivational speaker, commanded nearly $250,000. Well, folks, that does it for today's show. Join us back here on Monday for a Movie Monday, where we will have a whole new slew of things to get into. But in the meantime, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you all then. Bye, folks.